Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Bergh, and you're going to hear about a topic called Your Data Nerd Friends Need You, and how the world of data analytics and science and engineering is failing, and how the principles from Agile and DevOps and Lean are the way forward. So let's start off with like a really broad separation. So in most of this DevOps conference, excuse me, we're talking about transactional systems that take user input or machine input, persistent in the database, and they're built and run according to DevOps principles. But there's a whole other class of systems, analytic systems, that take data from transactional systems and try to analyze it. And they're kind of stuck in the dark ages. And so that's what this talk is about. It's really about those analytic systems and the people that operate it. And we're going to talk about that problem and also talk about the people and how having empathy for them can help. And also talk about the problems, the suffering that they're going on and what can be done and what you can do to help. So everyone's heard about big data or machine learning or AI. It's everywhere. Some people call it the new oil. And it's a huge market, $189 billion market. And companies are getting acquired for huge amounts of data, 15.7 billion for Tableau, which is a reporting tool, where GitHub got bought for 7.5 billion. There are tens of millions of people creating insight from data. I think there's even more than software developers. Some people argue that it's 1 in 25 workers are actually somewhat involved in doing data and analytics. And it's also a system that's rife with failure. Most projects that deal with data and analytics fail. Gartner estimates 60 to 85% of projects fail. Most organizations who want to be data driven, that is, they at the highest level, they kind of like when Gartner says companies want to be digital, they also say companies want to be data driven, and self-reporting is going down. And most data science projects where the work is done algorithmically also fail to get in production. So it's not going well. And so what is that about? Well, in a lot of ways, the data and analytic industry is like the US auto industry in the 70s. They're producing Pacers instead of Corollas. And so the cars that they produce tend to be pretty buggy. There's a lot of errors. It tends to, when they want to change model or get a new model in, it takes weeks or months to deploy. And actually a lot of data and analytic teams are suffering, and the rate at which people are leaving the field is growing. And so if we look at data and analytics today, and we take just 4 characteristics of these systems that people do data and analytics: the cycle time at which they can get something from the fingertips of their data scientist or data engineer into production, how many errors they have, how many error-free days they have, how well they collaborate, how well they measure. It's all pretty low. And we actually did a survey last year with Eckerson, and they found the same thing, that the companies are pretty slow to deploy, have way too many errors, and a host of other challenges. And so let's kind of go back to the beginning and talk about these people who do data and analytics. And so, all of us I've had the fortune of spending half my career in building transactional systems in various forms at various organizations as an individual contributor and a manager, and then another half building these analytic systems and managing people who did it and doing the work myself. And the people who build and run these analytic systems, they just took a different door than you. They sort of got their BS in computer science and went right instead of went left. And they have lots of different roles. Some people are called data analysts. Some people are called data engineers who build and transform data. Some people are called business analysts or analysts themselves who do visualizations. There's a role of a data scientist who actually does algorithms. There's managers, there's statisticians, there's database administrators. There's a whole bunch of people who have different roles in trying to work with data. And so if we look at it in some ways, all the systems that you hear about in the DevOps Enterprise Summit are, broadly speaking, transactional systems: CRM, ERP, supply chain, a website, a financial system, an HR system. And all those sources, and then some more, actually get taken by these people and built into an analytical system and pushed out to customers. And so that's what our topic is really about, these analytical systems. And so to build them, the people who work on it, they work in teams. And they've got just different roles and different people who work. And so there's a data engineer, like I said, who actually is involved in accessing and transforming data. There's a data science person who applies algorithms like segmentation to data. There are self-service or analyst teams who actually visualize data. And then there's a data governance team who tries to catalog and make sure that they reduce the risk of data. And so these teams themselves just have a huge fragmented tool chain. And so every task involved in data and analytics has, broadly speaking, a tool to help them do visualization, help them do algorithms and data science, tools to store data in a database, tools to transform data, ETL, extract, transform, load, ELT tools. There's tools to actually keep track of data in human readable form, a data catalog, and in every part there's 50 different tools. Some of them are more code driven, some of them are more low code driven, but there's a huge market that's billions and billions of dollars every year, and people love their tools and they have their favorite tools, and some of them actually may be familiar to people here, like Python, and some of them may not be. And so the teams themselves actually work together. So let's just go through a simple scenario. So there's a data engineer. He or she sources the data from somewhere, loads it into a table in a database, right? And it's a sales table. It's got Joe and Kelly and a name and a sales. And then there's a data science team who takes that and actually puts an algorithm on top of it. Maybe they cluster it and say, who are our high value customers and low value customers? And after that, there's a self-service team. And maybe when I mean self-service, it turns out in data and analytics, sometimes the people who do the nice charts and graphs work for, and we'll talk this, work for the same team, and sometimes they don't. But they're basically putting charts and graphs on it, but they also can add more data into it, maybe an owner, and there's a whole tool for self-service, set of tools for self-service data prep.